The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high-definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. Today we're going to be talking about home theater spaces. Home theater spaces are areas in a house that you usually don't encounter, at least not in my neck of the woods. They're usually higher end, they're well decorated, well staged, and they're dimly lit. So for all those reasons, they are a tough space to capture. So what I'd like to do is kind of give a couple of quick tips. Exposure, focus, and composition. Those are the three areas that I'd like to quickly touch on. So let's start with our first space. We have 6 shots here that we're going to go through of 3 different spaces. First, exposure. You want to capture, in my opinion, the ambient light as much as possible. And the reason we don't want to do exposure fusion is because the purpose of exposure fusion, or let's go ahead and even say lighting. And we don't want to light this space or use exposure fusion because we don't want to show the space as it isn't. You know, cameras can only capture a fraction of the light that our eyes can actually see, so that's why we utilize these other lighting techniques. In a home theater space, the dimly lit ambient is intentional. It's part of the tone. It sets the mood. So you have to do your best to capture the mood of the space. So by shooting at a high ISO and at a almost dragging the shutter, if you're on a tripod, it's not an issue, but if you're doing handheld, it's difficult to capture the mood of the space. So what's important is the mood of the space. The second thing that's important, and as I said before, we're going to talk about 3 things. The second is focus. It's okay to shoot really shallow depth of field in home theater spaces, such as focusing on chairs, maybe the screen, whatever it is. You have a singular subject and the rest is sort of background. And that's sort of what the case is here. Our front row of chairs is the focus. The rest of them, they're just the background. And then composition-wise, I said this before in other podcasts, and I'll say it again. It's better to capture a space, a small space, especially, in multiple shots rather than do one wide shot to show it all. So what we do is we break this home theater down to 3 shots. Here's number 2, and there's number 3, so you can actually see the TV. So this one is much better suited towards a couple of shots as opposed to one wide shot showing the whole room, because as I said before, the more you see, the less you know. We really have to show the space intimately. So we've already got the intimate lighting, we have the intimate focus, and now the multiple shots give us that tight composition. Here's another home theater room. Showing the chairs doesn't really help us very much, but it hits on those 3 things. So first, we're using the ambient light. We've got this window that's giving us this this light, but the rest of the room is pretty dimly lit. We're at ISO 1250 at 1/125th of a second. You know, we can see focus-wise, we're focused on the recliner, the leather recliner, so we can still see the TV and see what's going on there. And composition-wise, just from left to right, TV, chair, background. That's what we see. That's how this sort of works. This home theater room, only one shot really did it for me. There's a couple other ones that would go to the batch that would be delivered, but this is the one, in my opinion, that works the best. Here's a different one. This one can only be captured in 2 shots. So here's one. You get to see the chairs. You know, there's 3 rows of chairs. You see how many blah, blah, blah. You see the background. You can obviously see what we're doing again. ISO 2500, 1/80th of a second. We're pretty slow, and we're pretty high up there in the ISO. We're trying to capture that ambient light. So if we went ahead and lit this space, you see those shadows in the upper right corner? Those are going to go away. And we kind of want this. This is one of those rooms where we want to really embellish the ambient light. And this one, I thought this one was more of a controversial focal point because it's so close. It's the back of the chair right in front of us in the lower left-hand corner, and the rest of the room is out of focus. Now, I say it's a little controversial because people are going to say, well, what's going on? But do yourself a favor and go ahead and lock focus on the TV or the poster boards there. Not as interesting. I mean, depending on the type of photographer you are and what your style is, but I like the combination of this image and that image to really bring this home theater room together. But it's your choice. So those are my quick tips for shooting home theater rooms. Utilize that ambient light. Pick an aperture, shallow depth of field, lock onto something, and then break the shot up into multiple shots as opposed to one wide shot. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.